The first official trailer for the Acolyte is finally here, and I'm here to give my overarching thoughts on the trailer, the timeline, and to fill you guys in on everything you need to know, as well as give my first impressions. The thing that many fans are the most excited for from the Acolyte is that this is a brand new era of Star Wars that has not been explored on screen. Although we've been exploring the early days of the High Republic in various comics and novels, which truthfully have been pretty lackluster, this essentially showcases the transition from the end of the High Republic era into what is known as the Republic Classic era, 100 years before the events of the Phantom Menace. The synopsis very much plays into what the trailer portrays, that being that this is essentially a mystery. Jedi are being killed across the galaxy and hunted down, an exceptionally dangerous thought considering the Jedi of this era are at the absolute height of their power. Many consider the High Republic Jedi to be one of the more perfect iterations of the Order. They're more so Rangers and Wandering Knights than they are political tools to be moved around by the Senate and the Republic. This, though, will slowly transition into that era, and it's likely that a major event will mark the end of the High Republic. The biggest reveal is obviously the presence of a red lightsaber and a dark side wielder at the end of the trailer, and there are many theories as to exactly who this could be. Again, roughly 100 years before the events of the Phantom Menace, this would still mean that the Jedi Order at large would think that the Sith had been extinct for hundreds of years, meaning that either all of the Jedi dueling this dark side wielder either perish and information does not make it back to the wider council, or this individual is not a Sith and is a different kind of dark side wielder. Obviously, in order to have a lightsaber, someone does not have to be a Sith Lord, and they can be a dark Jedi and a dark side wielder, most popularized recently by Baylan and Shin Hati. But what is compelling is that these Darksiders are actively seeking out something greater than themselves, likely the Sith. The whole plot of the Acolyte will be to recontextualize the dark side, but not specifically the Sith. However, I do believe the Sith will play a major role, but rather as a background force moving the plot along, individuals seeking power in the galaxy, which is a common theme, and the Sith being their goal, ultimate power, but at this point in time, still being within the shadows and politically maneuvering in an era where they will assure their eventual rise in Darth Sidious. We see in the Phantom Menace and in Attack of the Clones that the Jedi Order is very arrogant, and the High Republic is that exact reason. They were the ultimate power in the galaxy for some time, and there was no real dark side threat that ever opposed them, at least for several hundred years, and until the return of Maul. The story will follow Amandla Stenberg, who will be seeking out power in the dark side of the Force itself. It's clear though that she is not yet an acolyte of the Sith or a dark Jedi. However, she will be seeking out a brand new master, and someone to teach her the ways of the darkness. We also know that Li Jiang will be a Jedi Master who is hot on her trail, who we see at several points throughout the trailer. He's investigating why various Jedi are being murdered and have gone missing. One of the major questions remains though, who exactly is Daphne Keane playing, with many believing that the dark side threat could be her, and that she could actually be an exceptionally strong apprentice, with a Sith Master lurking in the background somewhere, which is exactly what a rule of two Sith would do in this era. As Darth Plagueis would later teach Darth Sidious, they became influential beings in the galaxy. They outsmarted the Jedi rather than overpowering them and conquering them blade to blade. In terms of the Acolyte as a whole though, this has potential to be really good and phenomenal storytelling. It has a very interesting plot and a very compelling time period, but it's also massively important that Star Wars gets this right. The High Republic era has been widely disappointing thanks to comics and books, with one of the major critiques being that there hasn't been a real threat to emerge, Force wielder or not. But the Acolyte has a chance to do something special. They have a chance to explain exactly why this is, why the Jedi are so powerful during this era, and what their counterparts in the Sith are doing. This is an interesting story, as normally the Sith hold all the cards. Palpatine is notorious for this, but the Acolyte will explore a story where the Jedi are the ones that seemingly hold all of the power, but those that wield the dark side want it, creating an interesting dynamic between the two groups, where the Sith are the underdogs, and the Jedi are the force that needs to be conquered. Something I do love about the trailer though, is the presence of various alien species and different Jedi. There is even a Keldor Jedi and a Wookiee Jedi at one point, showing just how expansive the Jedi Order was, especially during the High Republic. back. During this time, there were various Jedi outposts, and they were far less centralized than they would eventually become. I'm hoping that a major part of the story will be the Jedi Order tightening their grip around its members. Perhaps something goes horrifically wrong, much like it has done in Legends continuity, with perhaps a member of their order falling to the dark side and posing a major threat. But now I would like to talk about the Force wielder at the end of the trailer. It appears as if they used the Legends Force ability of Force Repulse, something that was popularized by the character of Starkiller, and something that we don't see very often, but it appears as if this is the ability that they're wielding at the end. It's also important to note that they're taking on a large group of Jedi, hinting at the fact that this dark side wielder is exceptionally gifted in the Force. Whether or not they are a Sith, though, is the major cause for concern. I believe that this will be the driving force of the show, trying to weed out the Sith as we follow the Jedi as they attempt to do so as well. It's meant to be a mystery part detective show, and while we won't know exactly what the allegiance of these darkside wielders are, the Sith are very much active in the galaxy at this point in time. Many have stated that Darth Plagueis, his species being a moon in Star Wars Legends, allows him to live far longer than many other species in the galaxy, and it is possible that Plagueis is alive during this period of time. Unfortunately, we don't have a confirmed species of what exactly Plagueis is in Star Wars canon, but personally, I do hope that they keep him a moon if he is set to appear. In Star Wars canon, this would also be the era in which the Sith Lord Darth Tenebrous was around, Plagueis' own master, and the Sith before him. Of course, it's too early in the timeline for Palpatine to actually appear, but the presence of the Sith is looming. I'm hoping that the Acolyte will also answer a major question in Star Wars canon, that being, exactly how did Yoda come to learn about the Sith Rule of Two in The Phantom Menace, despite the Sith being in hiding and presumed to have gone extinct? But I do believe the Acolyte will answer this question, and whereas Star Wars Legends has its own explanation, there is yet to be anything in canon. But now I'd like to talk about the Jedi and their expanded view of the Force. The High Republic Jedi to many are considered some of the most powerful Jedi in galactic history, simply because their training and their perception on the Force was not limited, they were far less regulated. This actually resulted in the coloration of different crystals. By the era of the Republic Classic, we learn that the Jedi are no longer able to imbue upon a crystal and have it turn yellow. However, the yellow coloration is widely prominent during the High Republic era, as well as colors such as purple, and we've even seen multiple white lightsaber colors in the High Republic, with a white crystal being the result of an individual taking a red crystal and purifying it with the Force itself, healing it if you will. The yellow crystals, though, indicate a sense of justice and responsibility. All in all, I thought this was a pretty solid trailer for the Acolyte, and I'm very interested in the plot moving forward. The Sith absolutely have to be integral, and whether or not individuals like Yoda will appear is yet to be seen. Yoda during this era of time is actually a Grand Master, but he's one of 3 functioning Grand Masters, and the galaxy is a very large place. The concept of following a darkside wielder in the era of the High Republic is absolutely riveting and brilliant. But concept and execution are 2 very different things. And although the trailer itself looks very good and very intriguing, we'll have to see exactly how things play out in full. The Acolyte will be premiering on June 4th, and rest assured we'll be covering everything about it, as we absolutely love the dark side here on the channel. And we're fascinated with them, especially in the era when they're on the back foot. Hopefully this will recontextualize how we view the Jedi of the High Republic era, not necessarily as villains, but perhaps view them as the Sith do, empathizing with the villains of the story, something that Star Wars has been absolutely phenomenal at in the past. But now, my friends, I would love to hear what you have to say and what you have to think about the trailer for the Acolyte. Are you impressed? Are you worried still? I think I share the same sentiment as many Star Wars fans do, that being that I'm cautiously optimistic. I love the dark side, I love the Sith, but this of course could be very different in execution. We could potentially have something very special on our hands, or we could potentially have a dud. But as always, my friends, thank you so much for visiting the channel today. Stay tuned for more Star Wars lore and topics, as well as breakdowns for the Acolyte, and may the Force be with you.